in holding that pain, something is broken open in me. Because heartbreak doesn't close my heart, it breaks my heart open. When my heart breaks open, I feel not only, right, my heart breaks open not to ordinary love. Ordinary love can't touch any of this. I break open to outrageous love, right, to the Eros that moves reality itself. And that Eros is creative. And in that creative Eros, new possibility emerges. The entire energy of evolution moves through me, and new emergence become possible, and new visions become possible, and I begin to imagine a new reality. Oh my God, it's good to be together, isn't it, my friends? It's so good to be together. And thank you, Krista, for the gorgeous opening and the entry into the inside of the inside. Thank you, Christina Tahel, for the beautiful recapitulation of the Dharma, and welcome to anyone who's new. And I want to set our intention this week as we enter into the full depth of this moment. The unimaginable joy that lives in this moment, the play that's right here, the wisdom that's pregnant in this moment and that wants to be born, and the ecstasy and the subtlety and the caring and the depth and the preciousness that's in this moment. And let's love this moment open together. Let's love this week open together. We're going to love this moment open. This moment wants to speak to us. And we're also aware of the ways in which this moment is seeded with metacrisis. We're aware of the ways that all of the risks that have always existed have now crossed planetary boundaries, and the seeding of a systemic breakdown of our systems, which have the capacity to cause unimaginable suffering and even existential risk to our very existence, or catastrophic risk, unimaginable suffering, are also present and pregnant in this moment. And so we come together in this moment in which opposites are joined at the hip, in the paradox of this moment. We're poised literally between utopia and dystopia, between the most beautiful world that we ever imagined possible and a fundamental degradation of reality, which could lead to the end of humanity, to the death of humanity, or to the death of our humanity. As we understand it, a human being with free will, a human being with infinite dignity, a human being whose needs and whose desires, right, are sacred, and whose heartbreak is held in the bosom of the infinite. What a moment, and what a privilege. And we come together every week. This is maybe our 300, and I don't know the exact week. I'll look in the chat box. What week are we in? 353? Let's take a look. Someone going to tell me, what week are we in, my friends? 354, right? Our 354th week, right? Every single week we've come together, and we've come together with the intention of revolution. And in this intention of revolution, with our thumb in our fist, because we don't want to punch anyone, right? It's not an aggressive fist. It's a fist that's raised, right, in revolution, that says we need to actually evolve the very systemic source code in which we live. This realization that it's not about a cabal that's running an evil conspiracy. It's about something that's gone errant and the essential unfolding of reality's basic storyline. The plot lines of reality have gotten lost to us. We've stepped out of the field of value, right? As exterior technologies have exponentially grown, bringing unimaginable dignities in modernity, those same exterior technologies have been divorced or dissociated from an equal evolution of interior technologies, of knowing how to engage the exponential technologies, knowing how to engage and how to evaluate and infuse with value and upload value into exponential technologies which give us the power of ancient gods. So we have the power of ancient gods, but we have no new story of value equal to our power. And in that gap between the explosion of unmoored and dissociated exterior technologies and the failure to articulate a new vision of value of what it means to be a human being, of an answer to the question of who am I? Where am I? What is really of value? What needs to be done? What's my deepest heart's desire? What's the nature of desire? What's the nature of who I am in my own deepest self? Our failure to answer those questions and our abandonment of those questions, our relegation of those questions to the whims and caprices of a marketplace, which now for the first time in the last 50 years understands itself as being outside the field of value. And so therefore, the marketplace is governed by success stories, win-lose metrics, the war of the all with the all. Every relationship is a rivalrous conflict governed by some form of win-lose metrics. And that generates both an intimate one-on-one relationship and familial relationships, and in the larger wholes, that generates fragility. That generates complicated systems that collapse on themselves when subject to stress. That's existential risk. That's catastrophic risk. How do we respond? We have to articulate, we have to tell a new story, we have to tell a new story of value, rooted not in capriciousness and not in old values which claim to be eternal and unchanging, but actually rooted in the field of value, which is both eternal and evolving, right? A field of evolving value in which love is real and yet love is evolving. Eros is absolutely real and Eros is always evolving. Intimacy is real and there's an evolution of intimacy. Value is real and reality is the evolution of value. So we participate in the field of value, in the field of Eros, in the field of desire, in the field of intimacy, and yet we understand that value and Eros and intimacy and desire are always evolving. And we participate in that evolution of love. And it's that evolution of love which tells the new story of value, which then generates a new ground from which reality emerges, because reality always emerges from inescapable frameworks. And those frameworks are the story of value within which we live. When we change the story of value, when we evolve the story of value, we then begin to generate a new reality, because that new reality always emerges. It's an expression of the invisible plot lines of the story from within which we live. Who can feel that? I know that's a kind of general recapitulation, and these are dharmas we've talked about many times, but who can feel it? Who can kind of feel, right? Where are we? We're in the revolution. What's the revolution? What's the overwhelming moral imperative of the revolution? To tell a new story of value, not to declare it. Barbara and I always talk, Barbara Marx Hubbard, who co-founded this evolutionary space, this one mountain, many paths. We always said we can't just declare it. We have to validate it in the deepest strains of wisdom, from ancient wisdom, from modern wisdom, from postmodern wisdom. With all due respect to my friend Jordan Peterson, we can't just dismiss postmodernity. It has important realizations. We've got to weave the realizations of the pre-modern, modern, and postmodern together in a new synergistic whole and a wider weave of narrative, a narrative that reflects the validated insights of all the wisdom streams in reality that we can tell to any 6-year-old or 9-year-old or 10-year-old in any continent in the world, right? To any socioeconomic class, to all races, creeds, and colors, right? A story of value, a universal grammar of value that unites us. That's a context for our diversity. That is the response to the meta crisis, the realization that there's actually a unique self-symphony in every religion, right, in every nation, right, is a unique intimacy, a unique instrument in that symphony, and has a unique gift to give and a unique life to live and a unique enlivenment to enact. And that unique self is not my Myers-Briggs test. It's not my separate self win-lose metrics winning formula, right? That unique self is my unique expression of the field of Eros, of the field of intimacy, right, of the field of desire. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to tell that new story of value as a revolutionary act, as an act in response to imminent, unimaginable suffering. It's an act of mad love, as Rumi would say. We love madly. It's an act of unimaginable love. It's an act of not ordinary love, right? Not a social construct between human beings, but outrageous love, right? The Eros, that's the heart of existence. It's not mere human sentiment. Human sentiment expresses, right, that ground of outrageous love of Eros that is the nature of reality itself. So my friends, are we ready to do this? Right? Who's ready? Who's ready? Are we ready? My friends, are we ready to play a larger game? Are we ready to play a larger game? Are we ready to participate? Right? It's a participatory cosmos, the physicist John Archibald Wheeler reminded us. And that's true in exteriors and it's true in interiors. It's true all the way in and all the way up and all the way down. Are we ready to participate in the evolution of love, in telling this new story of values? So let's do this. Oh my God, we're ready. So David's going to read us a code, and we're going to go into a new world today, a new world and an old world, a world we've talked about many, many times over the last decade, and we're going to reapproach it and open it up in a new way. And I've been in an ongoing conversation with Christina Kincaid about this for the last decade, and we've talked about it at many festivals. I had a recent conversation yesterday with my dear Chavruta, a deep study partner. We lost touch for 14, 15 years and reestablished contact. My dear friend, O, right, and his partner, Katara. And so we had Owen and I have kind of been exchanging about this the last day. But this is something we've talked about many, many times. So I want to step into it, right, and thank O and Katara for their part in the conversation. And let's step in and let's blow this open, okay? Let's love this open all the way. Okay, so David, give us the code and here we go.
Okay. The nature of the intimate universe is that intimacy is always broken, and that broken intimacy is the intention of the universe. The deeper intention, however, of this same universe is that broken intimacy be recovered, and that the recovered intimacy is more profound, more poignant, more potent, more powerful, more whole than it was before. The journey of the heart from intimacy to the breaking of intimacy to its recovery at an ever higher and deeper level is the evolution of love. This is the journey that we refer to in CosmoErotic humanism as the movement from Homo armor to Homo Amor. Now I'll read that one more time. The nature of the intimate universe is that intimacy is always broken, and that broken intimacy is the intention of the universe. The deeper intention, however, is that broken intimacy be recovered, and that the recovered intimacy is more profound, more poignant, more potent, more powerful, more whole than it was before. The journey of the heart from intimacy to the breaking of intimacy to its recovery at an even ever higher and deeper level is the evolution of love. This is the journey that we refer to in CosmoErotic humanism as the movement from Homo armor to Homo Amor. Back to you, Mark.
David, read it one more time. Give it to us one more time. Right. Let's give it one more time. Let's go one
more time.
In, friends. Take us inside.
All right. Here's this week's evolutionary love code. Let's feel it in our hearts, how true it is. The nature of the intimate universe is that intimacy is always broken, and that broken intimacy is the intention of the universe. The deepest intention, however, is that broken intimacy be recovered, and that the recovered intimacy is more profound, more poignant, more potent, more powerful, more whole than it was before. The journey of the heart from intimacy to the breaking of intimacy to its recovery at an ever higher and deeper level is the evolution of love. This is the journey that we refer to in CosmoErotic humanism as the movement from Homo armor to Homo Amor. Mark, I turn my word back to you, beloved.
In other words, part of the structure of the intimate universe is that intimacy is broken and lost, and then it's recovered. So breaking, right, is part of the structure of reality itself. That's called in the lineage of Solomon, it's called Shvirat HaKelim. It's called the breaking of the vessels. And the fancy way to say this would be ontogeny and phylogeny are one. Right? That's one way that this has been said. Delete that sentence if it doesn't work. Let me make it more simple. Well, let's go kind of deep in tenderly, okay? Which is that cosmos lives in me. The personal is the cosmic and the cosmic is the personal. And the realization that we live in a participatory universe, that I participate in the warp and the woof of cosmos, that the current of cosmic reality, the current of evolutionary reality, the current of Eros, right, which animates all of reality, lives through me, means that the events that form reality happen in me. The Big Bang happens in me. Supernovas explode in me in some deep and real sense. And when the lineage of Solomon talks about the breaking of the vessels, or other lineages talk about a fall, or we talk about an exile from Eden, we talk about a breaking, a separation of heaven and earth. That takes place in some sense very deeply inside of me. So I want to kind of take this slowly, and I want to talk about this part of intimacy that's unavoidable, which is the breaking of intimacy, which is the breaking of the heart. Right? We can't talk about the one heart of cosmos, which is the field of Eros. That is reality that we've talked about in terms of its scientific grounding time and time again, the CosmoErotic universe, right? The sensual cosmos, the amorous cosmos, the intimate universe. Many names that we describe it, and it emerges from actually the closest reading of the classical sciences, right, of the exterior sciences, but it also emerges through the closest reading of the interior sciences. We actually realize that reality is driven by allurement and autonomy, attraction and repulsion, by autonomy and communion, that reality is quite literally filled with appetite, filled with desire. Reality is Eros, moving towards ever deeper contact and ever greater wholeness. That's the structure and nature of reality. And then in that movement towards wholeness that we've talked about scientifically many times, both again in terms of classical science, in terms of interior science, in that movement, there's an inevitable structure, and that inevitable structure is heartbreak, right, is the breaking of the vessels. And so let's start with the baby. In Hasidism, right, in the interior sciences of Hasidism, which is this movement that sweeps Eastern Europe from about 1760, pretty much until World War II, there's a teaching of Isaac of Gorky, where Isaac of Gorky says you can learn 3 things from a child. And my friend O, who I said it earlier, likes to cite this text. And you learn 3 things from a child, from a baby. You learn, and I'm going to cite it a little differently than the way Isaac of Gorky says it, but this is his basic intention. You learn from a baby play. And by play, it's not quite natural joy, it's play. The baby plays, right? The baby is Homo ludens, right? The playing human being, right? The sense of the dance of joy and play is natural to a baby. Number 2, as soon as a baby has a fundamental need, the baby cries. So the baby is deeply in touch with her need. She doesn't disown her need. And she responds, not lishma. I'm going to ask everyone to just stay with us. Just play. Yes, and yes, Becca, the play is for its own sake. That's true. That's true. But let's stay close to the thread. So the baby plays, number one. And Becca adds in the chat box that that play is for its own sake, right? Which is beautiful. That's correct. Lishma, Lishma. It's for its own sake, number one. Number two, right? Let's call it the baby is in touch with his or her own need, and that need evokes tears. So I want to get this notion of tears, right? Need immediately evokes tears. Okay, that's two. And three, the baby is always open. The baby doesn't close. And that openness expresses itself in curiosity. And curiosity is a quality of loving. Curious means I'm open. And when I'm open, I take in new realities. And by taking in those new realities, by ingesting, by swallowing those new realities with a kind of radical curiosity, I become more. That's what it means to love. To love means I'm curious about you. And by being curious about you, I take you in, I love you up, and then by loving you up, you love me open. Right? So the baby's open and curious. So the baby's always transforming. The baby's always becoming more. The baby never hits a place of being static, right? Of being shut down and stayed and stagnant. Okay, those are the three qualities of a baby. Now, let's go a little deeper. That's the idealized baby. Is it deep? That's the idealized baby. and Hasidism, in its great beauty, didn't quite anticipate attachment theory. Right? So Hasidism is describing the idealized baby sans attachment theory. Does everyone get that? Because what attachment theory that develops really in the last 100 to 120 years, attachment theory points out that that moment of the baby is a fleeting moment. It's an ephemeral moment. And the baby quickly begins to experience a lack of attunement, a lack of alignment between herself and between mother and father. And mother and father, or caretaker, represent for the baby the entire world. So the baby begins to feel this lack of attunement, right? The baby begins to feel an experience of the needs not being responded to, the tears not quite being heard. The baby begins to have an experience of, as Winnicott says, of being humiliated and getting her basic needs met. So the baby moves from this original pre-tragic state of this idealized baby, right, of this wondrous bliss where the baby cries, right, and immediately those needs are met, and the baby is in this state of play, right, and the baby is open and curious, right? The baby then immediately encounters the other. And as soon as the baby encounters the other, the mother, there's a moment of the Garden of Eden, and then there's an exile from the garden. And the exile from the garden, the shock of individuation, the shock of the realization that I'm another, and that ultimately even mother is not fully attuned to me. And so the baby experiences a kind of humiliation in getting her basic needs met. And Martha Nussbaum, Martha, if you're listening, I was madly in love with you 20 years ago, with your writing and your depth and the beauty of your work. So Martha Nussbaum writes a book called The Language of Emotions. It's an important book where, and my dear friend Kathy, we did a deep dive into this, and Kathy sent me some initial excerpts from Martha's book, and I went and dove into it. And there she kind of gathers attachment theory and some very, very important pieces of writing, and really understands this notion of this humiliation, getting my basic needs met. And so what begins to happen is I stop crying because I stop actually feeling what I need. Okay, so let's just go slow for a second. So when the baby is in this original, and let's go to not to secondary sources, to original sources, Nussbaum is an original source, right? And it's kind of citing, right, the actual attachment theorists themselves. Let's stay with those sources, which is Winnicott, and which is Bowlby, and which is Mary Ainsworth, and which is Kohat, right, and which is Fairburn, right? Those are the original sources here. They're important sources. And of course, our dear friend Laurie Galperin, who's been so deeply involved with the center, is one of the great attachment theorists. Her and Mark Schwartz are doing, amazing work right in this field and actually integrating unique self theory into attachment theory. And we're actually finishing a book now called Unique Self Recovery, right, in this regard. But let's just take this slow. So there's this experience of the baby where the baby experiences need, the baby cries, and the need is responded to. That's the ideal state. The heart desires, the heart needs, the heart cries out to have the need met, and there's joy because the need is fulfilled. That's level one. That's the pre-tragic level. And then the baby and the human being enter the tragic, where my needs aren't heard, where I'm humiliated in getting my basic needs met, and I begin to dissociate from my needs. I begin to become alienated from my needs, right? I can't actually find the depth of my needs. So now we've entered into the tragic. Now, step 3. When I'm split off from my needs, I can't cry. And when I lose access to my tears, which is my ability to cry out in need, the ability to cry out in need is the natural human experience of longing. It's the natural human experience of desire. And my heart breaks with desire. And that heartbreak is not a degraded state, right? It's not an unenlightened state. It's not a depressed state. It's not a clinically pathological state. It's the natural state of the alive human being. So what Chassidut, what Hasidism, what the interior sciences of Hasidism were pointing to was this pre-tragic state of the idealized baby who has the experience of natural wholeness of heartbreak. And the natural wholeness of heartbreak expresses itself in tears. Now, this realization, this is step 4, is about the dignity of need. In other words, the baby understands in the pre-tragic state the dignity of need. The adult who understands the dignity of need is the one who models, in the Solomon tradition, prayer. So there's a woman in the book of Samuel named Hannah, as in Woody Allen's Hannah and Her Sisters. And Hannah has this deep and profound desire to bear a child, this desire to be the mother. And it's a primal need, not of every human being and not of every woman, but it's a primal need of many women and many men to be the father, and in a very different way, women to be the mother. Again, not all men, not all women, right? There are some men and women who have other deep, profound expressions of need for creation that don't express themselves in physical children. But for a huge swath of humanity, the need for a child is a need that we recognize its dignity, right? It's a selfless need. It's a need that is about self-fulfillment, but requires sacrifice. So in that sense, it's selfless for a moment. It's a bracketing of self to be in devotion, right, to the emergence of life. It's this very powerful need. And so this Hannah enters the temple, and she cries. And her tears are seen by the Solomon tradition as the locus classicus, right, of prayer. because prayer is about turning to the depth of reality, to the infinite intimate, to the infinity of intimacy, and bringing the full depth of my desire and need in the fullness of their dignity to the table, right? It's about claiming the dignity of need. Prayer affirms the dignity of personal need. Does everyone hear that? Prayer affirms the dignity of personal need. And so Hannah, right, in her tears, becomes the model of prayer because she's deeply connected to a particular recognizable need, which is not a pseudo need. Does everyone get this? It's not a pseudo need, right? It's a true, right, and profound, right, and deeply erotic human need. Okay, so we start there. Is everyone with us here? Everyone with us here? So, okay. So let's go slow now. Let's go slow. Let's go deep. Let's go even deeper. Okay. So the capacity to affirm the dignity of personal need is the place that we begin to reclaim our own dignity and our own divinity. Now, I want to go slow here, okay? I want to see if we can find this. So it's only in the embrace of heartbreak, meaning in the willingness to be able to feel the depth of my heartbreak. And as many of you know, when we did a seminar about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, we talked about this notion that a person has a pain threshold and a pleasure threshold. It's a place past which we're not able to feel our own heartbreak and we're not able to feel our own pleasure, right? There's this limitation, this cap. We don't allow ourselves to feel the depth of our need, whether it's the depth of our need which emerges, which is expressed in heartbreak, or the depth of our need for pleasure, right? For the full eros and aliveness of reality. We split off from our needs and we refuse to feel, as we said it then, and you can go to the recordings, I think on the God is Eros 2015 seminar, we say it there, I refuse to feel my feelings to completion. I cut off the need. I dissociate from the need. But I'm in the tragic, I'm the traumatized baby. I'm the alienated baby, and we're all, in some sense, the traumatized baby, not because that's an accident of cosmos, and not because we were abused by our parents. It's in order to individuate, we have to actually feel the gap between us and our caretaker. We have to actually feel, right, the individuated needs and be able to recognize them and claim them and claim their dignity and divinity and rest in them and let them be in us and us be in them, and not have them massaged immediately and not have them immediately responded to. The baby has a fleeting experience of heartbreak. And then in an idealized baby reality, those needs are immediately met. But in the more real, in the true reality of the baby, those needs aren't met. And then the baby begins to individuate, the baby begins to find herself in the identification with her own longing, with her own yearning, with her own need. And then the baby can go one of two ways. And when I say the baby, I mean the emerging human being. Right? The general way we go is we split off from our needs because it's too painful to stay in the heartbreak. And that's generally a huge swath of life for many years. Right? We realize our needs aren't being met, so we split them off, we dissociate from them, we alienate from them. That's the first part of the path. We become non-intimate with our own eros. We become non-intimate with our own needs. The process of recovering of self, right, is to recover my own relationship to my own needs, right? To recover the experience of the dignity of my needs, right? To heal the experience of being humiliated in getting my basic needs met by actually encountering a reality in which my needs are re-embraced. And I do that always through the beloved. It's the beloved that I encounter later in life. And that beloved might be a dear friend. Right? It might be a teacher. It might be a sensual beloved. It might be a creative partner. It might be a depth of philia, of profound love between two friends, of a completely non-sensual dimension. But it's this place in which my needs are recognized. I can bring my pain to the table. I can bring my heartbreak to the table. And I can actually own the depth of my heartbreak. And when I own the depth of my heartbreak, then my heartbreak ceases to be a source of depression or clinical pathology, and it actually becomes part of my aliveness. And for the first time, I've recognized my needs. I've owned the dignity of my needs. I've been able to recognize their true nature. I've been able to access not my surface desires that I invented in order to cover over the emptiness, but I can actually go back and access my original deepest heart's desires. And those original deepest heart's desires are always unique. There's no generic desire and there's no generic heartbreak. Does everyone get that? And I have a unique heartbreak. My heartbreak's unique. My desire is unique. My needs are unique. There are certain shared needs that we all have. There are shared general desires, but actually we all have unique scripts of desires. We have unique qualities to our needs. And to be able to own and live in the fullness of my unique self is to live in the uniqueness of my heartbreak. Right? There are no two heartbreaks that are the same. Does everyone understand that? There are no two heartbreaks that are the same. There are no two deepest heart's desires that are exactly the same. Right? So to heal, to recover my wholeness, I need to be able to recover my capacity to be in the depth of my need, right? To be in the depth of my heartbreak, but to be in the depth of my unique heartbreak, my unique desire, my unique need. And once I'm in that unique need and unique desire and unique heartbreak, I can begin to actually meet that need. Once the need has been recognized, it's on the table, I can begin to meet it. And I can find my beloveds. I can find my circle of intimates who actually bear witness, are listening to the depth of my unique desire. And they say to me, your need is my allurement. Your need is my allurement. Your need is my allurement, right? The way that you want to be touched, I want to touch you, right? The way you want to be held, I want to hold you. The way you want to be aroused, I want to arouse you, right? The way you want to be desired, I want to desire you. Can everyone feel that? That's your need is my allurement. I want to say it again. I want to get this, right? The way you want to be touched, I want to touch you. The way you want to be held, I want to hold you. Right? The way you want to be seen, I see you. The way you want to be smelled, I smell you. The way you want to be felt, I feel you. Right? The way you want to be pleasured, I'll pleasure you. Right? Right? That's your need is my allurement. And so there's this then capacity to have my needs met. So by being able to live in the heartbreak, to reclaim the original capacity of the baby. But I don't go back to being a baby because the baby is pre-tragic. The baby is self-involved. The baby is not actually an ideal. right? The baby is actually a symbolic ideal, but the baby actually can't feel the fullness and depth of other. The baby's identified with mother and just for a fleeting moment feels the mother holding. And then in the next moment, the mother becomes an alienated other who doesn't feel her full need. And then the baby feels the fundamental breakdown of attunement and the beginning of early pain, the pain of disorganized attachment, the pain of insecure attachment, right? The pain of broken attachments, right? There's very few people who have what's called secure attachment, which is a formal term. Most people experience some sort of fundamental lack of attunement in which I'm humiliated in getting my needs met. But that baby is not actually attuned to the mother either. That baby is lost in the baby's own very narrow circle of intimacy fundamentally with self. The baby can't feel the world. So the baby actually goes through his or her own process of growing up. And that growing up involves, one, feeling, right? Expanding her circle of feeling, expanding her circle of attunement. Two, the pain of being dissociated and alienated from my core and basic needs. Until I'm able later in life to meet the beloved in all of her disguises, to meet the beloved in all of his disguises, not just the sensual beloved, the beloved in all of his or her disguises, who actually turns to me and says, your need is my allurement. And then the dignity of need is recovered. Okay, can you feel that? Now let's go deeper, okay? Let's go deeper. Let's go even deeper. Can we go deeper here? Let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. It's so deep, right? Two steps. First, as the baby grows up and the baby recovers her tears, the baby recovers his tears, which is part of the recovery of needs. When I recover the dignity of my needs, the dignity of my heartbreak, and I recover my tears, and I find myself again in the eyes of the beloved, who witnesses, who hears, who attunes to me and says, your need is my allurement. I'm allured to meet your need. Right? Let me be your woman. Let me be your man. Let me be your beloved. That's just the beginning. Because really the process of growing up, the process of becoming awake and alive, the process of going from Homo sapien, the wise one, or Homo ludens, the playing one, to Homo amens, the loving one, which is what we call Homo Amor, is actually in both the evolution of my heart, which is the evolution of my heartbreak, which is the evolution of my tears, which is in the evolution of my capacity to feel. So the baby's tears begin to be the tears just of the baby. But then as the baby's heart expands and as the baby's heart evolves, the baby begins to actually feel the mother. The baby's attuned to the mother and then feels the mother's tears. And then baby then deepens and the baby begins to feel the family system. And the baby feels both the joy and the goodness and the aliveness and the tears and the brokenness and the pain and all of its nooks and crevices in the family system. So the baby feels in his or her egocentric circle of intimacy. The baby feels. And the baby has this intense desire not only to heal her own pain, not only to hold her own heartbreak, but to hold her mother's heartbreak, to hold her father's heartbreak, right? Who knows that, right? Who knows? Who here knows the the intense desire we have to hold our father's tears and our mother's tears and our brother's tears and our sister's tears. Who knows that, right? Right? We know that, right? Right. So there's this evolution of tears. So there's this evolution, right? There's this heartbreak that I begin to hold, which is not just my own. And then when I go deeper, I move from this first song, this egocentric song, where there's this expansion of my circle of intimacy, which is the expansion of my heartbreak and the expansion of my commitment to love, because heartbreak and commitment to love come together. And all of a sudden, I begin to feel even more. I begin to feel this wider group, which is beyond my immediate survival family, my immediate family through which I thrive and which holds me directly. I begin to feel this larger tribe with whom I share a story. And of course, there's tragic expressions. There's pathological ethnocentrism. Of course there is. But there's also the beauty of the tribe. This is my tribe. These are my people. And I feel their pain and I feel their joy. And my heartbreak is for the heartbreak of the entire tribe. And my heart breaks with the heartbreak of the tribe. And sometimes I'm even so committed to the tribe and to its value and to its perpetuation that I live my life for the tribe. And sometimes I even give up my life for the tribe. And yes, I understand that that has pathological manifestation. But I'm not talking about the pathological manifestation. We know that. I'm talking about its holy manifestation, where I can feel the larger tribe. And when we don't have a place to feel that, we go to a sports event, to a huge stadium, and we cheer for a team to actually, because we have this fundamental need to feel this larger field in which we can play together, which we can feel each other. And that's one of the sacred functions of a sporting event. But the sporting event is supposed to point us to real ethnocentric intimacy, to real intimacy with the tribe. And instead, it often serves as a form of pseudo-eros, instead of opening up the real and wider eros, which is our wider joy and our wider heartbreak. That's the evolution of tears. So the evolution of tears is now the baby's moved from my tears to the tears of mother and to the tears of egocentric intimacy, those of the people in my immediate personal family. Then there's an evolution of tears, and I feel the tears of the tribe, right? Can you feel that, everybody? Can you feel that? It's so deep. It's so deep, right? It's so deep. It's so deep, friends. Can you feel that? And it's so deep, right? It's so deep. It's so deep. It's so deep, right? Stay with me, right? And then I realize the tribe is too small, right? Does everyone feel that? The tribe's too small, right? It's not big enough. The tribe has too much pathology in it. It's too much us and them. Right? And the pathologies of ethnocentrism, I realize I can't just be in one tribe. Literally, my heart bursts. And I realize that I'm a Chinese child, and I'm a Japanese mother, and I'm a Hindu, and I'm a Jew, and I'm a Muslim, and I'm an atheist, and I live in North America and South America, right? And I'm an Aborigine, right? Right? I live every place. And I've always lived, and I'm in every face, and I'm in every person, and I participate. I actually begin to actually feel in my body, heart, mind, both the joy of every human being that ever breathed and lived, past, present, and future, and the pain, right? And the heartbreak, right? The heartbreak, right, of every human being that ever was, will, and will be, right? We are the people, right? We are the people we've been waiting for, and we're all the people. Right? And all the people live in us, and we live in all the people. And all of a sudden I've moved, there's been an evolution of tears. Right? And I can't actually sit in my home and eat comfortably when I know that there's so many hungry people. And I feel all the hungry people, and I feel all the lonely people. Right? And I can't shut off from that anymore. And I can't turn away. And I need ponem, my face opens, and my face means to turn, panim, to turn towards. I turn towards, I'm panim el panim, I'm face to face, and no one's outside of the circle. And I feel the heartbreak of the whole story. And I feel the joy of the whole story, right? So at this point, I begin to move from Homo sapien to Homo Amor, right? In other words, my armor begins to break. So I mean, my armor breaks in many stages. My armor breaks in the beginning, and I've got to break the baby develops armor when the needs aren't met. And so the baby then breaks open that armor and begins to feel the baby feels her heart again. When I say the baby, as the baby grows up, as the child grows up, right, the armor that encases and shuts down the heart is broken open in the eyes of the beloved who meets my needs, who says your need is my allurement, right? And as we play together, as we play in sensuality and we play in the sensuality of the heart and the wetness of the mind and the throbbing of feeling each other, so that armor is broken. That armor is broken because there's a deeper eros, there's a deeper love than ordinary love. When we break the armor open of the baby, right, it's because we've actually moved, we've begun to move from Homo armor to Homo Amor, right? We can access this deeper love that doesn't get shut down, that's always available. There's a part of us that's always innocent, right? There's a part of us that is the one heart that always lives under the armor, that's always there. No matter how far we feel we've fallen, no matter how shut down we've become, no matter how deadened our field of desire is, there's a deeper desire. There's a one desire, there's a one heart, there's a one love that's always available. And that's what we call outrageous love. That's Homo Amor. So even when we start with the baby, when we close down the heart, when the heart becomes armored, and we want to break that armor open, what Wilhelm Reich called de-armoring, and this is where Christina does, right, for the last 25 years, her deep work, right, in de-armoring. And then Christina and I came together and we talked about moving from Homo armor to Homo Amor. And that means I access this outrageous love that breaks my heart open and allows me to find the beloved. Because we can't find each other in ordinary love. That gets armored, that gets shut down. But when we access the current of Eros, which is the current of love, which is the CosmoErotic universe, and we feel it living alive in us, and we realize we participate in that field of Eros and desire, then we break open and the baby becomes alive and feels the mother and the family in a new way. And then I feel the tribe, right? The same armor is broken open and I can feel my whole tribe. I can feel my people, right? And I move at a ethnocentric level from Homo armor to Homo Amor, right? And we don't have, in most Western democratic countries, there's no sense of genuine identification with the tribe. We're armored, we're closed in, right? In a kind of broken egocentric self. And in many other countries, there's this false and diluted sense, right, of the tribe, which is fascist and totalitarian and tragic. So you've got regressive pathological identifications with the heart of the tribe. Then you have this shut down heart that can't feel the tribe. And so I have to actually be able to find the current of outrageous love. And I realize that my tribe is good and true. And reality intended this tribe, and this tribe needs me. And being in devotion to the tribe is unimaginably beautiful. And then I move to world-centric. And at world-centric again, I can't hold the world in my heart with ordinary love. I can't hold the world in my heart with love, which is a social construct, which is an expression of a reductive, materialist, random universe which has no meaning. That's not the nature of the universe. And love is not merely an epiphenomena, right, of evolutionary psychology drives, right? Love is the heart of existence itself. That is outrageous love. So to actually hold the whole world in my heart, to feel the whole thing, I've got to access that one heart. And that one heart that lives and that pulses in me uniquely, right? The one heart that pulses in Becca uniquely allows Becca to wrap her arms around every human being alive today. And she then picks up the baton from every human being that ever lived, and she hears the cries of the unborn of every human being that I'll ever be. And I'm in this world-centric consciousness, the song of the world of every human being, and I feel the pain of every human being and the joy of every human being. And my heartbreak has expanded and it's become virtually unimaginable, but I can't hold it with a small heart. I can only hold it with the one heart, with outrageous love, as Homo Amor. And then my heart expands even more. And then I feel every lamb and every blade of grass and every cow and every cat and every mouse and every rodent and every insect. And I feel the entire cacophony of the living universe. And I feel the current of life and it's feeling and it's will. It's will, it's fundamental will. Stuart Kaufman pointed out correctly that there's will all through reality. Biology is not computation. Biology, as my friend Perry Marshall wrote in a beautiful academic article, biology transcends computation. It's immeasurable, right? It's the quality of the living universe, the aliveness of the all, and I feel the pain of reality. I feel the pain of the seas that are being destroyed and the fish extracted. And I feel the dead zones in the ocean. I feel the desertification. I feel the extraction of resources, right? And their degradation and their depletion. I feel the planetary boundaries, right, being crossed. And I'm madly in love with reality. It's not that I'm just worried about my own survival. My love of the biosphere is not, oh my God, I'm not going to survive. It's I'm madly in love with the biosphere. Right? I'm allured. I'm not just world-centric at this point. My heartbreak has exploded just like my joy's exploded, right? And my heartbreak embraces the whole thing, right? Wow, because my heartbreak is my aliveness. My heartbreak is my longing. My heartbreak is my yearning. Now stay with me, friends, for a second, okay? Can we go one more step? Is it okay? Can we go one more step, friends? Just one more step, okay? So at each one of these levels, my heartbreak allows me to recognize the depth of my desire, my personal desire, my desire for my circle of egocentric intimacy, which means my egocentric heartbreak and my egocentric joy, me and my survival people, me and my personal circle. And then my tribal heartbreak and my tribal joy, ethnocentric, and then world-centric, right? Every human being, the heartbreak and the joy, and then cosmocentric, every animal, right? Every living being, and actually the livingness, the inherent aliveness of the self-organizing universe, even at the level of matter, which is filled with will and moves from mud to Mozart and from bacteria to Bach, right? And from dirt to the most devastatingly beautiful sonnets of Shakespeare, right? So like that. And once I feel the need, right? This evolution of need. I first feel my need. Then I feel the need of the tribe. Then I feel the need of the world, every human being. Then I feel the need of the cosmos, right? And I actually experience the dignity of need. That need is a value. And it's not just the need of all of planet Earth. It's the need of all of the galaxies. Because otherwise, planet Earth is going to become ethnocentric, right? As life appears in the cosmos and other places, and it will, and it already has. And we begin to make contact and we begin to live in an intergalactic world, we have to realize that value is grounded not in planet Earth, it's grounded in cosmos itself. And we're all children, sons and daughters of the cosmos. And value is cosmic value, right? And so I feel the need of the cosmos, then I become intimate. We become intimate through our shared needs. We become intimate through our shared desires, right? What are intimate relations at the sexual level, right? This titillating, alive, living desire to touch each other. And as we feel each other's desire, we become intimate. As we feel the primalness of each other's need, we become intimate. But the sexual models, Eros, we become intimate not just through feeling the beauty of each other's gorgeous and stunning sensual needs. We become intimate by feeling each other's primal needs for food and for nourishment and for being held and for creativity and for being recognized and for being desired and our need to be needed and our need to be chosen and our need to be held, right? And our need to be, right? In other words, when we meet and feel each other's needs, we become intimate. When we meet and feel each other's desires, we become intimate with each other, right? And so on one level, by being willing to expand the circle of our heartbreak, the evolution of heartbreak is the evolution of need, which is the evolution of intimacy, which is the evolution of desire. And that's how I become, that's what it means to wake up. That's what it means to open up. It's what it means to become an enlightened or enlightening being. An enlightened being, right, means I embrace it all. And even when I fall out, I fall back in and I'm constantly turning towards. And I'm constantly wanting to be face to face. And I'm willing to feel it. I'm willing to feel. And now I want to go to the last step. I'm willing to feel even what I can't entirely heal, right? We close our hearts to heartbreak when we experience the gap between our ability to feel the pain of it all and to heal the pain of it all, right? So the first step is that we've said many times, I realize, okay, I can't heal the pain of it all. So I turn to my unique circle of intimacy and influence. And I say, what are the unique, outrageous acts of love that are mine to do? And so I go from being powerless to powerful again, because I realize that I can turn to my unique circle of intimacy and influence, and I can heal. So I close the gap between my ability to feel and heal. And that's so deep, and we've gone so deep into this over the last decade. But let's go even deeper now. I also have to be willing to stay in the heartbreak when I'm at the edge of the mystery and I don't know how to heal it. Even when I don't know how to heal it. Even when there's an inconsolable longing. There's a yearning I don't know how to fulfill. There's a need that I can't meet. I don't close myself down to the need. I'm willing to stay in the need. Can you feel that? I'm willing to feel the pain even of God Goddess. I'm willing to feel the infinity of the divine tears. I'm willing to feel so deep and so wide, even though I don't know exactly which way is forward sometimes. Even though I feel paralyzed, even though I feel sometimes impotent and helpless, I don't abandon the potency of my feeling. I don't shut my heart. I'm willing to feel my longing, my heartbreak, even when it's inconsolable. And when I stay in that heartbreak, when I stay in that feeling, and I don't feel it through to completion, I can't feel it through to completion because sometimes the heartbreak is nearly infinite, right? There's no completing the heartbreak, right? Of the Rwandan mothers, right, who saw their children destroyed before them. There's no completing the heartbreak of the gas chambers. There's no completing the heartbreak, right, of the deaths of child soldiers in the Congo. But I don't turn away. Right? I participate in the pain of reality because I can't not, because I feel it all, because it's all part of who I am. And in holding that pain, something is broken open in me. Because heartbreak doesn't close my heart, it breaks my heart open. When my heart breaks open, I feel not only, right, my heart breaks open not to ordinary love. Ordinary love can't touch any of this. I break open to outrageous love, right, to the Eros that moves reality itself. And that Eros is creative. And in that creative Eros, new possibility emerges. The entire energy of evolution moves through me, and new emergence become possible, and new visions become possible. And I begin to imagine a new reality. But I don't turn away. I never turn away from feeling as much joy and as much heartbreak as my heart can hold. And that's all of it. Now, friends, I can't feel that all day. I can't feel it in every second. I won't be able to function. I'll be paralyzed. But I need to set aside times every day, once a day, where I'm willing to feel the pain of the goddess in exile, of the broken hearts and the broken vessels. And part of my daily practice is I feel all of the joy. And I celebrate. And I feel all of the pain. And I feel all of the heartbreak. And I never close. And I never close. Can you feel that? Right? Wow. You know, the Rebbe, the master from the town of Kotsk, Menachem Mendel, who was my teacher's teacher, he says, you know, the baby cries, right? And the old wise master cries. But they're completely different. Their tears are completely different. because life is the evolution of tears. It's the willingness to open my heart, and it's tears of joy, it's tears of heartbreak. But it's the willingness to open my heart to more and more, to feel more and more, right? Yeah. So like that, part of the intimate universe is heartbreak. Atoms come together and then they can be tragically split, and unimaginable destruction emerges. There's allurement, beauty of allurement, and then there's the fusion of totalitarianism. There's autonomy, and there's the alienation of the reductive materialist marketplace, lost in a narrow and pathetic success story. We got to go deeper. We have to become the feeling of reality itself, because that's who we already are. It's the only place we feel whole. We have the capacity, at least for a few minutes a day, to feel it all of the joy and all of the heartbreak. And in that, we participate in the true nature of who we are. And from there we can do anything. From there, everything's possible. We become literally ourselves, the possibility of possibility, right? So that's our code. And we're going to be coming together this summer in mystery school that Chris is going to tell us about right now, where we're going to go like so deep inside together, and so deep, like wild. Thank you, everyone. I turn to Krista. Amen. Amen. Cha.
Wow. So beautiful to be here together in this intimate field of outrageous love, and so honored to be holding each other in what we like to call this evolutionary family, this band of outrageous lovers, where we can be wholemates to each other, where we can be beloveds to each other. And imagine a society, a community, a tribe, a world, a galaxy, where we are all living by that principle of your need is my allurement, and we can help each other hold the heartbreak, heal the heartbreak, be with the heartbreak, sit in the heartbreak. And we do this together for each other and with each other. And one of the places that we do that is the mystery school that is happening this summer in Europe, August 21st until August 25th. That's where we get to be together in person, where we can touch each other, hug each other, dance together. And also Dr. Marc Gafni spoke today so beautifully about this process of de-armoring that he and Dr. Christina Kincaid are in together and developed together. And so Dr. Christina Kincaid will also be offering this de-armoring process in a very embodied way at the mystery school every day. So we're going to break our hearts open in so many beautiful ways, and then receive this amazing transmission of outrageous love, so we can become the embodiment of outrageous love in the world and become powerful leaders, and then share it in our unique corners of the world. So you're so welcome to join us there, Eros Mystery School. And we are actually exploding, almost sold out, because so many people signed up, and we're actually creating more spaces for people right now. But if you want to join, please do sign up now. Now is the moment to do that and to make that decision, because it's already happening in 3 or 4 weeks from now. If you really cannot travel to Europe, you can also participate online. We're creating an amazing online experience where we have a whole team of people and beautiful ways to weave the intimacy between the online experience and the in-person experience. And our intention is to really make it feel like you're actually there with us in this field of outrageous love. So you can sign up right now at erosmysteryschool.com, and I can't wait to be together. It's going to be so beautiful.